welcome to Palace Confidential, your weekly look at all things royal, of course brought to you by The Mail. I'm Jo Elvin, and joining me this week to tackle the big talking points are Charlotte Griffiths, who is editor-at-large at The Mail on Sunday, and the Daily Mail's diary editor, Richard Eden. Welcome to you both, dynamic duo as ever. Now, before we get to topics like Prince Andrew's drive to clear his name, the coronation and what the role the Sussexes might have there, here's Rebecca English with this week's Royal Roundup.
Well, it's been another packed royal week. We've had everything from the Prince of Wales holding an investiture at Windsor Castle to his father, King Charles, visiting the Africa Centre in London. We've also had the Princess of Wales holding a roundtable meeting at Windsor Castle of experts that she has convened to help advise on her big early years initiative. Now, that's something we'll hear a big announcement about next week, which hopefully we can discuss on Palace Confidential. Meanwhile, yesterday I was in Wiltshire with the Queen Consort, who was visiting the Royal Osteoporosis Society. It's a charity she's been involved with after losing her mother and her grandmother to this terrible fragile bone disease. And I also joined her in Laycock in Wiltshire, which was home territory for Camilla. It's a beautiful, very quintessential country village close to Raymill, which is the home she bought in a private capacity before her marriage to the Prince of Wales, and that she still very much uses as a bolt hole from royal life for herself and her family. And it was a lovely engagement. We visited the exquisite church, 12th century church that her daughter Laura got married in 2006, and she popped in some of the local shops, revealing that the local village store very much kept her police bodyguards well fed with quiches and pastries over the years. Today I'm in very different surroundings. Actually, that's what I love most about being a reporter, particularly covering the royal beat. You never know where you're going to be or who you're going to be meeting. And I'm at a church in Windsor, which has just had a visit by the Prince and Princess of Wales. They've been looking at the work of Windsor Food Share, which is a local food bank, which unusually also offers clients fresh foods such as vegetables, fruit, eggs, as well as staples such as bread, pasta and tinned goods. And it was all part of their work over the winter months to really shine a light and see what they could do to help hard-pressed communities the length and breadth of Britain. On this visit, they had a chat with the organisers of Food Share, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, and also got involved with some of the local volunteers here, packing up bags for clients to pick up later in the day.
Rebecca English there. Richard, the royals are back at work. They're not dodging quite as many Sussex truth bombs these days, but then one problem rears its head. Prince Andrew. And you have a story in the column today about him. What can you tell us?
Well, Andrew's in a very jolly mood, and it's not just the fact that his daughter Eugenie is expecting a second child, but he's very optimistic about something. And he hasn't said what, but we've been speaking to someone who he was on a shoot with earlier this month, and he has been saying that he's optimistic about something next month that's going to, I didn't say clear his name, but he said it sort of is going to change everyone's perceptions of him.
That's quite a delicate thing to be speculating on, isn't it? What could...
It is really, and obviously it makes you wonder what could it be. But at the weekend, there was also the story in the Mail on Sunday that Andrew is planning to challenge the settlement that he came to with his accuser, the woman who accused him of sexual assault,
wow.
Virginia Roberts Giuffre. So, you know, it's all left hanging. They reported that he's consulting lawyers, but it sounds like we will find out pretty soon what's happening on that front.
Wow, so Charlotte, would he really come back, and would the royal family welcome that?
I don't think they'd be wise to, because unless he kind of invents a time machine in which we haven't seen the Emily Maitlis documentary, for example, you know, we are always going to remember. And I think Charles, as king, is actually going to understand the zeitgeist quite well, and there isn't a public appetite for him to come back, so why bring him back? It's just a dangerous thing to do.
But maybe, I suppose, there is the possibility that this piece of information that he's so excited about may completely change everybody's minds. What do you think?
It might do, but the problem for Andrew is the evidence which is indisputable, which is, for example, he met with Epstein after Epstein was released from prison on sex crimes. He met him in New York, he stayed with him, that's one fact. And then we've all seen the infamous photo of him with his arm round a 17-year-old woman. Obviously, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell, again, has been casting doubts on that photo, but this is the testimony of a woman who is a jailed, convicted sex trafficker, let's remember.
Yeah.
So, you know, the idea that this is going to clear his name is very questionable.
Who can forget that photo of him waving coquettishly from Epstein's apartment in New York? I can't erase that image from my mind, really.
No, I mean, what concerns me is, you know, he might spend a fortune on legal fees in America, and they say he's inheriting millions from his mother, the Queen. But, you know, even if he managed to get this settlement overturned and his name cleared, the problem then is, you know, it's really about his judgment, isn't it? It's about who he associated with.
Well, and it's also that word that nobody in England really likes, but the optics. It just feels like, how can he ever shake this whole murk? Right?
Well, remember why he settled initially was because, well, the argument that was put out there was it was the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations and no one wanted those to be overshadowed. But obviously this year we've got the King's coronation, so, you know, King Charles will not want this to be overshadowing his big day either.
So he's saying we'll know what this is next month.
In February, yes. So watch this space.
In time for his birthday. Anyway, so Charlotte, sticking with the Yorks now, the story in your paper at the weekend about how Fergie apparently has helped our new Queen.
Yeah, so it turns out that Camilla and Fergie have formed a bond and a friendship. And it kind of makes sense now I think about it, because they both have had excruciatingly embarrassing elements to their personal life come out in the press, and they've both fallen out with Diana, dare I say it, and they've both endured a lot and been cast out in the cold, and it makes perfect sense that they're sort of friends again now. And what was in the Mail on Sunday this weekend was that Camilla has sort of invited Fergie on the shoot, the Boxing Day shoot, which she hasn't been at for years, and Fergie had to endure this really embarrassing thing every year at Christmas, which was when Andrew would take her daughters to Sandringham, and Fergie would have to just like literally wait outside in the cold. And what Camilla's
sitting in the car with the engine idling.
Well, she just wasn't invited to Sandringham, so she just had to spend you know, I'm not sure if she was at Sandringham, she probably remained in Windsor.
Down the pub a bit down the road, drowning her sorrows.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, that's not very nice to have your husband and your children, I'm ex-husband, but you know, they're still very close, aren't they? Spending Christmas without you, and this sort of constant humiliation year after year, and it seems like that was probably a Prince Philip thing, and obviously, you know, Camilla said, look, let bygones be bygones, so it looks like Fergie's back in from the cold, literally.
Wow.
And I think this is one thing that really emphasises the positive aspects of Prince Andrew's life, is that, you know, he's kept this very good relationship with his ex-wife, which, you know, let's face it, is very unusual. You know, lots of people, it can get very nasty with divorces and so forth, but they've kept very good relations, and with their children, they've brought up 2 children, so that, you know, really is important.
And much like our Charlotte, Eugenie is with child.
Yes.
What do we know when it's due? Do we know what variety, anything like that yet?
I'm afraid lots of us suspected that she was pregnant in the Christmas carol service. When we saw her in a big coat, and she did look like she might be pregnant.
I recognise big coat dressing. I saw that at Christmas. I was like, I have that same coat. I'm covering up something too.
But we're too polite these days to run stories about, you know, could she be pregnant?
I think it's during the summer.
Well, it can be quite rude. I'm glad you didn't do that.
Yeah, imagine she's just having an off day.
So anyway, now they've confirmed that she's expecting her second child. It will be a... we don't know if it's a brother or sister, but it will be sibling for August, their son, who turns 2 next month. So it's, very exciting news.
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
Yes, and you're due in April. So, yes. But Charlotte,
and they'll be best friends when they grow up, you know.
Yeah, there you go. But Charlotte, a word on the Princess of Wales's outfit yesterday. We do like a Kate fashion watch, and lots of comments online about her so-called business style with an Alexander McQueen blazer over a Holland Cooper bodysuit.
Yeah, well, you're the expert on fashion and your business style, but my theory is that I think she's doing this kind of quite sexy, mature dressing now, because that bodysuit was one of those 80s ones, and God, I hope they don't come back, that fasten below the waistline, shall
Charlotte,
I say.
they've been back for ages.
Oh, God, but they come and go, don't they? And I never invest in one because it's just too complicated, frankly. But it's quite a sexy bodysuit. And then she's got her Alexander McQueen jacket over the top. And it wasn't so long ago she was still wearing Zara jackets. So I think she's got this new kind of power dressing look down.
Has this got anything to do with any kind of like relaxation of rigidity in the wake of the Queen's passing, do you think?
I don't know, because it's still a very formal look, and she's been wearing trouser suits for a long time. I guess Roland Mouret is a slightly sexier brand, but I think she's just maturing into her look and sort of gaining a lot of confidence. And she is recycling. They're very, very expensive, but she's recycling these outfits. So she's not going to face criticisms for not wearing the cheap Zara number, the high street clothes. I think she's sort of learning to let that go a little bit.
I love how we now call wearing clothes on repeat recycling. It's just,
I know.
It's just being normal about clothes. You're supposed to wear them again and again and again.
I only wear a £1,000 jacket once, and then I throw it in the bin.
I've got 3 winter suits, so I'm permanently recycling.
You're basically Greta Thunberg over here. But let's take a look at some of your comments now. And first up is Lorraine D'Souza, who wrote after our chat about Prince Harry's book Spare. She says, the earliest Spare whom everyone has overlooked is Margaret, who caused the late Queen a lot of discomfort in spite of the fact that she dearly loved her younger sister. It's quite a nice point. I think we do forget that Margaret was sort of like the, original in our time Spare, wasn't she? But last week we discussed the story that the King was to extend an olive branch to Harry to make up before the coronation, and lots of you were unhappy with that prospect, including Denise Carringer, who had this to say. Bingo! Richard Eden says in this chat exactly what many were thinking, that Jeremy Clarkson, who clearly was out of line in what he said, finally did apologise to Harry and Meghan. Instead of being mature and gracious and accepting the apology, they did the opposite and drew back to their typical immaturity and rudeness as they questioned the sincerity and veracity of the apology. Why would King Charles and or Prince William choose to meet with Harry when he behaves in that way? So frustrating, so very sad for everyone concerned. I think a lot of people do feel like that, don't they? Meanwhile, Old Nan says, what a great name. I suspect this is one of Richard's alter egos. Old Nan says His Majesty should follow the path taken by his beloved Nan, and has this to say: love the programme. I truly believe the King needs to take a page from his grandmother, the Queen Mother. She was fierce in her pursuit of treatment to the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. She made sure that they were on a leash so tight that they really never caused huge drama. She also worked with Churchill to make sure they stayed away from the coronation. Time for the axe to fall. Wow, don't mess with Old Nan. Anyway, sticking with the coronation, we heard new reports about what to expect from the celebrations in May this year, and here's Robert Hardman, who's both the Queen's biographer and the Daily Mail's in-house constitutional expert, to tell us what we have learnt.
What we have learned in the last few days is the fact that this is going to be a 3-day event rather than a 1-day event as it was in 1953. So we'll have the coronation on the Saturday, May the 6th. But then the next day, we're going to have up and down the country what they're calling a coronation big lunch. These are along the lines of the traditional street party, but it's actually very hard to shut down streets these days. So instead, they're encouraging people to sort of gather in parks and gardens and schoolyards and wherever, but in the same spirit, have a sort of community knees up. And then on the Sunday evening, following the coronation, there's going to be what they call the coronation concert. This is going to be a huge event, broadcast live from Windsor Castle on the BBC. There'll be a lottery for tickets. It'll be a really grand event. It won't just be a pop concert. I understand it's going to be quite orchestral. And here there is this sort of strong emphasis on inclusivity, diversity. So they want choirs. They're talking about having a refugees choir, an LGBT choir, army choir, army wives choir. I mean, all the great orchestras from around the country. Plus, there'll also be, I think, some of our greatest stage names as well. The King is a huge fan of Shakespeare, and we're told there's going to be a lot of Shakespeare in it. So it's going to be a very big televised spectacular. At the end of it, there's going to be a light show. In the old days, we'd have had fireworks. Fireworks are not deemed to be very eco-friendly these days, so I think we'll see an amazing kind of drone show, rather like the one we saw at the end of the Platinum Jubilee. And then on the following day, on the bank holiday Monday, they're having what they're calling the big coronation help out. This is a sort of celebration of volunteering with volunteers of literally every kind up and down the country doing some sort of voluntary work. And again, it's in the sort of spirit of community inclusivity. So it's based around a very ancient event. I mean, the actual essence of the coronation won't change in any way that it has in the last 1,000 years. You're still going to have what they call the recognition, the anointing, the crowning, the homage, these sort of key, almost biblical elements of the coronation service will still happen. But around it, you're going to see, as I say, a series of very 21st century events.
Robert Hardman there. Now stick around until the end of the show when we will have a montage, we know you like a montage, of some of the extraordinary pictures of the Queen's coronation in 1953. Before that though, we've still got lots to talk about, including the famous royal balcony shot that we hope to see. Richard, you've written about that in your newsletter today. Who do you want to see up there? And I bet I can guess who you don't want to see up there as well. Yeah.
I'd like to see everyone. I used to love.
I don't believe you.
Well, almost everyone. I used to love it when we had, all the minor royals that we would only see on these occasions. You'd see how the children have grown. You'd have, Viscount Linley as he then was, or Lady Amelia Windsor, and you'd see them all growing up. It was a great chance for the family to get together, and you'd see that the Queen is part of that wider family.
Do you think in these cost of living crises times, a lot of people would not want to see how expansive
it's like
the royal family
is? It's like laying it out. Here are all the people that get freebies.
That you're paying for.
Well, no, because they weren't all on the payroll, you see, and it included lots and lots of people who weren't on the civil list or anything like that. So, I would invite everyone apart from Harry and Meghan. So it might sound a bit extreme.
And send them a special note saying you're not invited.
Well, look, they can come to the coronation service. That there you'll have the President of China and all sorts of dubious people. So fine, they can be invited to that.
Nice comparison, Richard.
But look, if I wrote a book just attacking the Daily Mail, saying how awful everyone on Palace Confidential was, being really rude, I wouldn't expect it to be invited to your Christmas party, would I?
I don't know.
Well, it would add a bit of drama.
There's not much argument from me there.
I really wouldn't. I just think if they were up on the balcony with everyone else, it would cause uproar. You'd probably have snipers or something.
Don't say that.
I'm going to miss Meghan doing her thing that she does whenever she's on the balcony, which is looking up at William and Harry like that. She has this masterful pose where she looks like that, and it just looks ridiculous every time.
Oh, you two are so catty. I'm going to move on. But a reminder that you can sign up for Richard's weekly royal newsletter by clicking the link below. Best part about it? It's free. You do all that work for free, Richard. You're a saint. Charlotte, can Charles really put Prince Andrew up there, though, and not have Harry?
I don't think so. I think Charles is doing what your theory is mad. His theory is much better, which is just stick it to the slimmed down monarchy, the HRHs, and then that gives you an excuse to leave the crazy ones off the balcony. So it's a very wise decision, I think, if he goes down that road. So not having the HRHs up there. Easy.
Yeah, but remember that the Queen only did that for the Platinum Jubilee because of Harry and Meghan and also Andrew. It was that embarrassment that she restricted it to the working royals. So, we'll see the immediate family, and then we'll see the Duke of Gloucester, Duke of Kent, that sort of thing, on the balcony with them. But it was only because of them. But why make this concession just because of Harry and Meghan? I don't think they deserve it.
It should only be working royals. They're the only ones that matter now, and they're the only ones that work for the royal family.
Well, it touches on as well, doesn't it? There will inevitably that tension be between people who want the pageantry and the pomp and the ceremony balanced with the fact that we are in difficult economic times. What do you think we'll see in terms of lavishness?
Well, I think that, I want to see, the full Monty. Look, let's be frank, you don't need a coronation at all. Other monarchies, such as Spain, they don't have this. Charles is already our king. He was proclaimed king in that wonderful ceremony that we watched on television with the sort of, the heralds and all of that. But it was quite a brief ceremony.
It feels so long ago already.
Yeah, it was behind closed doors in St James's Palace. He is king. What the coronation is about is crowning, and really it's the religious aspect, bringing him in as governor of the Church of England and emphasising that. So that's all part of the pageantry. So I think if you're doing that, you want the whole thing. You don't want to do any cost
Do it
cutting.
properly. Do it properly. That's
Where
what
do you
think.
stand on it, Charlotte? I assume you're looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it. I kind of agree with Richard that we should do it properly. There should be lots of pageantry. I'm very glad they reduced it from 3 hours to 1 hour because we don't have the attention span we had back in the 50s. And I think it's good. There's a lot of talk that he's going to acknowledge other religions, so he's not going to be defender of their faith. Although he might keep that line, he might add another line in which he acknowledges other religions. And he is actually a genuine religious scholar. He really does care about Islam and Judaism and Sikhism, and he's studied them all at length. So that will be a really interesting aspect to it. And then the other thing is that he's adding on this bank holiday on Monday, which will be a chance for us all to do volunteering work, which I actually think is a really nice idea. And it's a good, I think it will be a coronation about the people, not just about me, celebrating myself as King Charles. He is actually trying to make this a sort of public event in which he recognises his subjects.
And what charitable work will you be doing on that public holiday?
I don't know, but I was thinking about it on the way here. Just looking after 2.5
You'll be
children.
looking after your new baby.
No, I will try and do something. I will try and chip in. I think it's going to be a really nice day.
It is. It's a lovely gesture. It's a lovely idea. But a word, Richard, on the story we've covered a couple of times on the show. The Mail on Sunday reporting on the weekend that Prince Edward might get this Duke of Edinburgh title that was his father's after all.
I think this story just reflects there's so much interest in this.
I was going to say, this story just won't go away.
Well, it is interesting, just because it had been that public pledge, from the Queen and Prince Philip on the occasion of Prince Edward's wedding that they expected him to get this title, and that was agreed. So the fact that has been rowed back on, we heard rumours about it before the Queen's death, and then I wrote about it since. And from what I've heard, I'm afraid it's not going to happen. He's not going to get it. The Mail on Sunday report was that maybe he's warming towards that. I don't know. Maybe some people they hope he will, and I'd love to see it. I think it would be. I think he deserves it, and it'd be great.
Do you think he's somewhere fuming about the fact that there's any question over this?
I think he's come to terms with it. He was actually asked about it. There was one interview, and he said it really is up to be up to King Charles what he does.
Don't you feel like Charles is using it as a carrot to dangle in front of Edward? Like, if you're a good boy, then I will make you, Duke of Edinburgh.
And how would he demonstrate being a good boy?
Oh, I suppose keeping quiet, not writing any books,
not getting into any trouble like everybody else,
not making any docu-series for Netflix, or
not doing any embarrassing TV series,
writing memoirs. That's that type of thing.
Got it. Right. Well, all the stops were pulled out for the late Queen's ceremony in 1953. And here are a few of our favourite pictures from that day. It's just time to say thanks to Charlotte, Richard, Rebecca and Robert. And thanks, as always, to you for watching. And we will see you next week on Palace Confidential. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching, but don't forget to click here to subscribe to our Royals channel for Palace Confidential, which brings you the latest royal news, views and gossip. See you there.